Hi, everybody. Welcome into another edition, episode 83 of the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast, Mechanical Breakdown Series, Volume 20, discussing the swing in the career of free agent, surprise to some, Kris Bryant. I think, arguably, if you talked to me 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said this, but I think fast forward to 2021 and Kris Bryant is a free agent, I would argue that along with Carlos Correa, maybe Freddie Freeman, no disrespect to those guys, that he is the most valuable free agent commodity currently on the market, just based off his offensive prowess in 2021. And of course, defensively, we've discovered in the last couple of years, he can play left field, a little bit of right field, and his strong suit is third base. But nevertheless, he's kind of a super utility type guy. So let me bring in professional evaluator, successful business owner, former coach, friend, and co-host, Jake Epstein. Jake the Snake, what's going on?
Hi. Sorry, Jim. I just wanted to do that.
Life's going on, man. You just wanted to say hi.
Getting ready for the holidays.
Yeah.
I watched a funny movie with my kids the other night called Four Christmases. Don't know if you've seen that.
I have not.
And it's really funny. So there's a couple of parts where like the news comes in to interview him, and it's what can I think of the tall guy's name from Swingers?
Not John Candy.
Not John Candy, no, younger than that. Tall guys from Chicago, help me out here. No one in the room can help me out. Good Lord.
Do we have an audience today in your room?
Yeah, we always have an audience. Vince Vaughn. And it's like he's super funny and outgoing, and then they put a camera in his face and he's like, water, like he just says random words. And
you should have said Wedding Crashers, because that's what he's most known
Wedding
for.
Crashers, yes, Wedding Crashers.
Swingers, I bet. Well, is he known for Old School?
That's his OG.
He's also in Rudy, by the way, Vince Vaughn.
No, that's the other one.
No, Vince Vaughn was in Rudy.
He was
the running back.
So was Jon Favreau.
I don't know who Jon Favreau is, but Vince Vaughn was the running back.
You don't know who Jon Favreau is?
He got tackled, got mad at Rudy, and the coach got in his face and said, if you were this, you'd be an All-American.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah, Jon Favreau is like, he and Vince Vaughn wrote Swingers originally.
Yeah.
And then Favreau went on he does all like the Marvel movies.
Right.
He's the director. He's happy in all the Marvel movies.
Well, this episode, again, the Lab Epstein hitting podcast, not to be mistaken with the Lab Epstein fielding podcast. We're discussing Kris Bryant. So his value, let me get back to that for a second. His value is pretty high right now because he can play three different positions. It gives the team defensive flexibility, and then you can pretty much bat him anywhere in the order, right? Lead off, if you think in terms of analytics, the number 2 spot would be the best, reserved for the best hitter in the order. You can bat him number 2 or number 3, or you can even bat him 4 or 5. So there's a lot of possibilities that you can also explore when it comes to the lineup too.
Yeah, he's so flexible with his ability that's why I like him as a free agent this year, is that you could put him in left and he's going to make plays. You can put him at third, he's going to make plays. If you give him an extended contract, he could play first. He runs well. He's a huge athlete. He's, I don't know how about 6'4", 220, something like that. And he moves like a, 5'11" guy. So he can run, he can play those different positions, and he's really consistent actually with his hitting. I don't mean consistent as, he's going to hit, 320, but year to year, he's pretty consistent. Like that's what you haven't, it's not like he's had 2 or 3 crazy years and then he went, bad. And then the last 2 years he went off the charts again before free agency. He's pretty steady. You have a pretty good baseline of what kind of player he's going to be for you. And I think as a general manager, as a manager, it's kind of nice to know what you're going to get. I mean, he went from the best offensive, arguably one of the best offensive parks to hit in Chicago, and he went to one of the worst ballparks to hit in San Francisco, and he didn't really miss a beat.
So last week we discussed ages, Marcus Semien in particular, and we did ask towards the end of the show what the age of Kris Bryant currently is. He is 29. I'm not sure when he turns 30, but as a free agent right now, he's 29. Yeah, right. He is still young. So he's 29 years old. And you look at the market for him. I think again, he's not a shortstop or a second baseman. Marcus Semien, though, got a 7-year deal at age 30. What do we say? 31 or 32? So Kris Bryant, again, I'm thinking 6 to 7 years at this point, and maybe close to $200 million. Now, the news came out the Giants, I don't know if you saw this, are not planning on giving 9-figure contracts out. So I think his time with San Francisco is done.
Yeah.
I have a couple of teams in mind who Bryant would fit in perfectly with, but I'm setting his market. I'm thinking 7 years, probably close to 200 million, just based off everything with the age included.
Yeah. Again, it's just tough guys want money, right? Mm-hmm. Guys want longer contracts so they can get paid later. They don't have to go through free agency again when they're 38 and they still want to play, or 37 when they still want to play. So it almost seems like, I know the Mets, definitely gave, extra years. People are giving like an extra year to somebody to kind of make a deal, even though they may release them that year. It may be wasted money. I feel like if you have a need for a player like Bryant, you might have to overpay. And, I'd love to give Kris Bryant, if I was a GM, I'll give you a 5-year deal, but that's just not going to happen. I'll give you a 5-year deal and I'll overpay you for those 5 years for sure. Those are, prime years. Mm-hmm. But I think it'll end up probably being an 8 or 9-year deal. And, like you said, the upper, 190 to $200 million.
I'm not sure I would do you're right. But I'm not sure if I was the GM, I would do $8 to $9 million for him. I think I would cap it off probably at 7 years, and maybe even try to explore deferred money. I don't know why players are so against that, by the way. Bryce Harper was against that. A lot of players are not for the deferred money. It's like the Bobby Bonilla contract. Why wouldn't you want to just be able to one day a year collect however many $1 million? I don't understand.
Just keep your same paycheck.
You're right.
You know what? Like, hey man, every 2 weeks, just flow me $1 million.
My God. I would be all for it.
I don't know. Maybe they think that the Major League Baseball is going to go bankrupt and file for bankruptcy, and then they won't have to pay for those.
I doubt that.
I don't know.
Very severely, though. Kris Bryant will probably be a free agent until at least February. I'm thinking maybe even possibly early March, because the two sides I've read are not anywhere close to getting a new deal done, and they're going to discuss economics in when? Ready for this? January.
Yeah.
Not now.
Oh, they've taken the holidays.
They've taken the whole holidays off.
Yeah.
January. Hey, Marcus Semien, who we discussed last week in our Mechanical Breakdown series, another guy who was a free agent now with the Texas Rangers. I want to just bring a stat to the table, and I want to see what you think. 2021, his WAR, wins above replacement, 7.3. His WAR in 2019, when he didn't have the same numbers, 8.4. So are we looking at the WAR stat possibly being overused and overrated because something is not adding up? 7.3 as compared to 8.4, big difference there when you talk about wins above replacement. And with the numbers he had in 2021 as compared to 2019, doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah, I think everything can be skewed. I think, there's a lot that goes into it, in terms of who's around you, what other people in the league are doing, right? I mean, that was a big part of the WAR stat, maybe last year, is that, was that 2 years ago it was higher?
Yeah. No, 2019 it was 8.4.
Yeah. So maybe the competition, was he playing a different position?
He was shortstop.
He was. Yeah. So, all of that has influence to that stat and that number. So I think you have to figure out, what he's good at, what he brings to your current team based on his position, his stats, his slug, his OPS, how many runs he's going to score and get on base. I think the WAR is definitely a piece of the puzzle, but I think that WAR, it would be interesting how that would change if you moved it to second base that year, right? Mm-hmm. Or you moved it to left field.
Yeah.
How that would affect that number. Would it be drastic or would it be a decimal?
Mm-hmm. Well, Yeah, I didn't think of that. I didn't take into account the positioning, but I guess second base obviously isn't valued as much as shortstop. Although, see, here's another thing too about WAR that I was thinking about this morning when I was doing some preparation for the Lab Epstein Fielding podcast.
It was a movie podcast when we started.
Right. Simeon. See, the issue, there's the times where the issue with this, he played a lot on the left side of the infield in shifts and vice versa. So how does WAR, I don't know if you know the answer to this. It's kind of a rhetorical question, but I mean, how would WAR factor that in as well? Right. Because there's a lot of times where he is actually playing back at his old position without technically playing that position when it comes to scoring a game.
Yeah. I don't know who plugs in the numbers.
Yeah, I don't either. I'd like
to get a specialist.
I would like to talk to them. Another thing we're going to probably bring up, we brought it up last week and we're going to bring it up probably today with Kris Bryant, attack angle. We bring that up a lot on this show. Can you just give me a quick overall definition of what attack angle is so the audience knows when we mention that term, what we're actually speaking of?
Attack angle is what your barrel, in terms of a sensor giving you that reading, a blast sensor. It's what your barrel is doing at point of impact in terms of moving up or down. So are you swinging up or down at contact, and by how much? That's what the attack angle is telling you. So, out in front, for me, that number is really important, especially like during practice time, because if you're working on something, look, I'm getting too steep, I'm swinging up too much. I had a player yesterday, I was working with a high school player. Look, once you get to your front toes, you get really steep and your attack angle goes from like 10 to 25 really quick. That's no good. But if he always hits the ball deep in the zone and you just look at the attack angle, it looks great. Oh, he's always at, 8 to 12 degrees. And that's awesome. That's where I want him. So you have to use that attack angle at different points in the swing, and then the path that it's taking. If you have an attack angle that goes from 0 and then it quickly goes to 15, like within a few inches, that's bad. Okay, that's not good. If you have an attack angle that goes to 0 and then it takes a while for it to get to 15, from like the front knee to the front foot, as you're looking from the side, well, then you have that's a good swing point. So the number when we do talk about it is how much his barrel is moving up through the zone.
Okay.
Or down through the zone.
So it's really giving you a more honest definition based off data of what a hitter's swing plane is. Correct?
Yeah, it's giving you a number. Mm-hmm. It's giving you a number, and numbers are, instead of, I've been doing video work since 2000, right? With like very basic information. You would just have to look, and then you would draw a line, and you'd be like, that looks like you're swinging up 10 degrees or 15 degrees. Now it tells you an exact number, within seconds, and you don't have to sit and load video in all the time.
Okay, well, good. So that's what attack angle is. We may bring it up for our audience when we talk about Kris Bryant today, but I want to bring up first his launch angle from 2021, and I'm going to correlate it to something else. Be sure to like and subscribe to the show, Apple, Google, Spotify, the YouTube page, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast for all of our video episodes and clips, and follow us on social media at Jim Tara, at Epstein Hitting. JimboPodcast21@gmail.com is the email address. So Kris Bryant, his launch angle in 2021, it went down. It went down 5.6 numbers, whatever you want to call it. It went down from 20.7 in 2020 to 15.1 in 2021. Now, again, this is all according to baseballsavant.com. Now, when I look at some of his heat maps, a lot of pitches that he hit, line drive percentage, 20%. It was in the red for pitches that were up in the zone. Looking here, his batting average, pitches up in the zone, 278, high and away, top quadrant of the strike zone, 278. That is also in the red. Again, a baseball savant.
Red being good and hot.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Is on base percent. I won't count that. Slugging. Here's one you'll like. 511 upper left quadrant of the zone, high and away. 417 right down the middle, also in the red, dark red. 417 down the middle, and up, I guess, up in the zone. So how does that correlate? How do you think that correlate? I know you don't have the numbers in front of you here, but just giving you that small sample size of statistics, how does that correlate to his launch angle dropping 5 degrees? Because now it seems like his swing is flatter and he's getting to that high pitch, and the numbers show that was the strongest pitch that he hit in 2021 and did it consistently for the most production.
And that was his goal.
Mm-hmm.
There were articles written in the beginning of the year that he was working on, setting pitches. He has a hack attack machine, or maybe one of the other ones, I don't know, but he was setting it up at 90 to 100 miles an hour
Mm-hmm.
at home and trying to stay on top of that pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to flatten out. That was his goal this year. What's really cool about that is he did it. I did an analysis of Kris Bryant when he came up, which I think is on YouTube somewhere. And that was my only concern with his swing, is how athletic he is. But, he does kind of have a barrel drop, and he's going to get exposed on pitches that are up, or even by up above the thigh. He was a very good low ball hitter. Now I went through a bunch of videos prepping for this segment, and it was amazing how many off-speed pitches up in the zone he jumped on and destroyed. Okay, so that is really cool. We've talked about your average launch angle before in episodes, and that's balls in play, so it doesn't take into consideration how many balls he swings under and misses or fouls back, because that, to me, tells a story that his launch angle should actually be higher if you swing under all the time. It doesn't also, take into consideration ground balls he pulls foul, which would also be part of the sample size to affect launch angle. Not that, those are going to be huge numbers, but that's why I never take that average launch angle. I definitely think it does something, because now all of a sudden he's hitting balls up in the zone better. I don't know what his history was before. He's so quick. He may have been okay on balls up in the zone before this year. You could look at those heat maps from maybe 3 or 4 years ago. He is one of the quickest through the zone. His hand path, this is something you see. This isn't something you're going to measure. This isn't a data point. But he is so quick on pitches up, meaning he's able to pull the trigger at any time with his swing and get his barrel through the zone, which is such a naturally gifted movement that, major leaguers have. And I should say elite major leaguers have, dating back to, Hank Aaron, or actually probably dating back, obviously, to the beginning of baseball. But he has that ability where I'll see him. I was looking at videos today, and it's boom, there's a hanger. He wasn't looking for it because he was a little bit out in front. There's a hanger on an 0-0 pitch, boom, and he's able to get his barrel to it, and to me, that's non-mechanical for the most part. At that level, it's non-mechanical. It's what a guy can do, how a guy reacts, how his perceptors work, from his eyes to his brain, to his hand, to his feet, to get his body in position. And he does that really well.
Well, while you were talking there, I looked up his heat maps from 2000. I didn't count, again, I don't like counting 2020. I counted 2019 though in this argument. His slugging percentage, it was 375 for the pitch right down the middle, up in the zone at his belt. So a little bit down from what it was in 2021.
What was it in 2016 or 15?
Right,
are you able to gather those?
Yeah.
I don't know how long that'll take you to get, but
actually, I made a mistake. So last year, those numbers I just said, they were 2020. I made a mistake, but let me look up 2016. I got it right here. Hold on.
This guy.
Yeah. It's called preparation.
I hope people are watching this on YouTube and saw that.
What, the wink?
Yeah, it's pretty well timed, my friend.
Okay. So I have it all. I have his 2016 all right here.
Well,
most home runs. I can't see Baseball Savant. I can't read their stat. Their numbers, because they're so small. 21 home runs were hit, pitches middle and middle away. 21 of the 12. Oh, wait, no. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. 21. Hold on. He had 32 home runs in 2016.
Okay.
21 of those were pitches down the middle and away, middle away. His
And he
batting
likely
average.
pulled them, just so you know. Like
Yeah.
he hooks balls. Like and that's why he hits balls middle away. He has good play coverage. His barrel gets outside a little bit. He's a little bit longer pathwise. He's a longer guy, right? He's tall. He's got long arms. So, he pulls a lot of balls, especially breaking balls on the outer part of the plate, the outer third of the plate, ball, 5 and 6. He'll hook those into left center. And he'll also take fastballs. He's a little bit late on that or middle in. He is able to hit those to center field, but he's definitely a guy that pulls balls foul. Like he creates a lot of hook spin, and maybe not as much last year, but he hit a lot of home runs his first 5 years of his career that had topspin in Chicago, like just absolute bullets.
So his slugging in 2016, top 3 quadrants of the zone in order from away to in: 455, 895, 385. Batting, slugging percentage.
Yeah.
But you know what? He was pretty much all red though.
That was a good year, man.
That was a
good year.
Isolated power. For all of our analytical friends out there, I like isolated power personally. 389 on pitches that were up down the middle, 426 on pitches that were down the middle and that were middle away.
Yeah. No, he handles the ball middle away. I wonder if those stats with Baseball Savant, if that is only balls in play. Because those seem like pretty high numbers. Like I would think he would foul off a lot of those pitches too.
Yeah, I would guess it's probably with
totally
balls in play.
Yeah,
I would guess it is.
Yeah, it's balls in play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, though, those are still good numbers even with balls in play.
They are good numbers.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he hits strikes. If it's in the strike zone, like he's got good plate coverage. In and out.
Before we get to the swing breakdown today, 2021, I want to take you back to his swing breakdown circa 2016. The breakdown of that on YouTube, I think it's on your personal page. How much difference is there in his swing from 2016 to 2021 that we'll see for those watching and hear for those listening today?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. Are you going to notice that difference? I don't think the layperson's going to notice it a whole lot. His hand launch is a little bit higher, and that is likely due to him just thinking up. Like, I got to stay on top. I got to stay on top. I got to stay on top. And then a natural athlete is going to just kind of creep their hands maybe from here in the launch position, a little bit higher to like, the ear. And just because he's working on that pitch. And I see that just with players. Okay, we're going to work on pitches up, and I'll see them cheat that way. Well, if you cheat for long enough, it becomes a habit and your hands are consistently up a little bit more. So I see it more as approach, and then him trying to get to that pitch, him practicing getting to that pitch. So yes, I definitely see a difference. Not a drastic difference though. Like it's not a huge difference, but there's definitely a difference in his hand height. And then we'll see in the video, like even this video we have for today, it was this year, it was 2021, but it was before he got traded to the Giants. And it was a pitch that was down a little bit, but it was a good side angle. And, we'll be able to kind of see what he does with his hands and his barrel accordingly. But I think a lot of it is approach and preparation that has enabled him to get to that pitch more than trying to change, a mechanical part of his swing.
All right. Well, here we go. Video time, by the way. Ironically, Kris Bryant, this is from 2021, is wearing a Cubs uniform playing against the Giants in San Francisco.
It's so great. Yeah.
All right. Great. Ready for the breakdown in 3, 2, 1.
Let's hit this thing. All right. So we have, Bryant here, who's, just a big athletic guy. And this was a home run that he hits, kind of towards left center and out in front. So this is, kind of the best part of what the best part of this swing is that he was early. Let's see, I'm going to draw a line on this pitch. It's coming in probably about 5 degrees. I'm looking, I don't know if that's posy catch or not, but, I'm trying to, so that's the right plane. So it's a 4-degree fastball. Okay. So I'm going to bring him to the very beginning, right? You can see he holds his hands really high, right above his ear. and his bat's really flat, which coaches are like, you can't do that, right? You know, you got to get that bat up. Well, he does get it up when he goes to stride. He has a very fast stride. Okay, so his stride doesn't take very long. If you go from his stance to his heel plant position, yes, I see you moving right now, Jim. And that would be, you know, mechanically one of the biggest concerns that he had early in his career was his left shoulder shrug. So if you watch his left shoulder, it works up pretty quick. So instead of the left arm starting to work out, so if you want to flatten your swing, boys and girls, the more you pull this left arm out in front, this left elbow from the launch position, the longer that front shoulder will stay down. If this left arm doesn't move independently and you just turn it, it'll typically shrug with the left shoulder, which is kind of what we see there. So if we bring him to his short approach position, the short approach is when his chest starts to face his front foot, okay? If we bring him to that position, you can see that left shoulder looks like there's tension in there, right? I mean, his shoulders are on a, you know, almost a 40-degree angle, you know, working up. Let me get rid of that real quick, okay? But what I love to see in this position, okay, is a little bit of room between the left shoulder and the left elbow, okay? I'm sorry, a little bit of room between the left bicep and the chest. So if he would pull his left arm out instead of smashing it against his chest, what happens is this shoulder wouldn't shrug as much. Now, he's probably been doing that for, you know, 20 years, you know, since he was a kid. I'm sure he's had that move in there. And it's a hard move to get rid of unless you do a lot of upper body drills, like a lot of no legs drills where you're just using your hands, you're trying not to spin your shoulders, and you're really isolating your arms. Okay, so we've talked about that a lot with different players, is the amount of space between, if we're looking at him, the Cubs logo and his left bicep. Okay, but when that stays smashed like that, you know, it'll typically drop the barrel just a little bit more. But if we go back to here, I'm going to try to get that line. I got to redraw that 4-degree line on here. Okay, bear with me.
That shrug is very pronounced.
Yeah, and it is. And it's even higher. This pitch is, you know, thighs, right? This is a mid-thigh fastball, right? And he gets to a good position. You know, it's not a huge frame rate, but what we do see that's different is if I bring him to a frame, 2 frames before he makes contact, okay, where his barrel is kind of by his right thigh or glute, I'd say more glute, you can see he's still working down here. Okay, so his barrel is still working down to this line. That's something that he didn't always do. He would be on his way up back there when he started. So you can see he kind of flattens out and then he gets slightly below, his barrel gets slightly below the pitch plane. And then through contact, he's going to come back up through that plane. Okay, now this is how you launch balls high. You know, you get a little bit underneath that pitch plane, and then you can see how steep he gets at the end. Okay, so when he goes from right after contact or right before contact to right after contact, see how steep we get right here? This is where, you know, we top a lot of balls. Okay, it has to do with our extension point. Not everybody does it. It gets that steep. But if we go up a lot there instead of around, then we get steep. And if we're a little bit early, then we'll create a lot of topspin. Well, he is a topspin guy.
Yeah.
And I told you, he hit a lot of home runs with topspin, you know, just because he's so strong and the pitches were up and he was swinging up maybe a little bit too much early in his career. And he would hit them hard and 390 feet, but they had topspin because he was swinging up and creating so much of that spin. That also creates nasty ground balls for infielders to hit. You know, I remember Ted Williams saying, you want really nasty topspin ground balls. Like, they're hard to catch. They're hard to catch. They pick up speed through the infield. You know, the backspin ground balls that your coaches hit during BP, you know, those are easy to catch. So, you know, and that's usually when we're out in front, we'll create a little bit more of that spin. Now, if we go back, and that's his swing plane, you know, talking about his swing plane, you can see there's only one little area here where there's an opening. Okay. And he would probably be exposed here. You know, if he hit it in the middle of that little valley, he probably would have just missed it. That would have been a just missed it pop-up, right? Oh man, he was right on that, but he just missed it. Well, no, not really. Like, he was either late by an inch or two, or his barrel was underneath too much. But again, we're splitting hairs, and we're trying to create, you know, the most perfect swing, which is very impossible to do.
Yeah.
But if you could take that, this is really good in here. So I'm going to draw more lines that are make it confusing. So this area in here where, you know, his swing went slightly underneath about maybe the width of a ball, right? That would be where he would be exposed and just miss balls. If you can make that area a little bit smaller, like if you could take that depth, instead of it being 3 inches, you can make that 1.5 inches. Holy smokes. Like he will absolutely destroy the bottom half of the ball. Okay. So instead of just missing some of them, he's going to absolutely destroy balls to center and right center. Okay. So, you know, if you're a perfectionist, that would be something you would want to work on. I'm going to get rid of all these lines and just look at his contact position here. Like, you can't get any better than this.
I agree.
I mean, this is so good. If you look at his top hand angle, right, it's not too tight. I love 120 degrees. He's at 125 because it's a little bit further out in front. If you look at his hamstring here, his back leg angle, you know, sub 100 or less is excellent. He's at 99. I mean, everything is sharp. All of his lines are sharp. If you look at his back foot, it's like almost completely vertical here. There's not a lot of weight on it, but it also didn't move a lot, right? It only moved a couple inches. You know, it wasn't like a crazy back foot movement. His front leg straightens out. You can see the weight in his front heel here, not in his front toes. That means he's pushing back through the ground with his hamstrings and his left glute, like he's not on his toes. That's very, very good. His right thumb, look how flat that right thumb is at contact. I mean, if you were going to take a picture and put it on a wall to stare at night so that you could train your body to look like that all the time, that would be it. I mean, that is so good. You can see his eyes kind of tracking the ball out in front. That's usually our head shouldn't move back more than that. We're kind of glancing out there in front of home plate. It's the last time we're going to be able to see it. So, it is an excellent swing. He's got excellent mechanics. Yes, if we were, building Frankenstein as a hitter, we would get rid of that move right there with the shoulders. And that's just a shoulder move. Like, we're turning our shoulders. And I would love to add some arms and hands into that move so that the front shoulder doesn't shrug. Okay. And why would we want to do that? Why would we want to do that? Well, it's going to flatten him out a little bit more at the end of the swing. Okay. He's pretty good here. He's pretty good at the approach, and even he's good there. It's more that very end. A lot of times, everything we do has a reaction, right? Every action has a reaction. And when that shoulder lifts up like that, at some point, his barrel is going to get to this line. So I'm going to draw that. Remember I said it was like 40 degrees?
Yeah.
His shoulder angle. Where's his chest? Okay, maybe it's not quite that much, 35 degrees. So if I play this through, at some point, his barrel plane, see if I can get backwards a little bit here, is going to be, it's kind of a sticky video. If I just draw, I'm going to go to barrel here right before contact and draw a parallel line to that 30, 35 degrees or so. Okay, you're going to see his barrel will probably move on that same line, or even more, it looks like. So, that would be the only thing that I would do, is try to do, like, bottom hand drills would be fantastic for him. The more this left arm moves by itself, the more independent that left arm moves, typically the less that shoulder is going to shrug throughout the swing. Okay. And that's about all I have to say about that.
I'm staring at, I stopped my video just past the point of contact where he's getting into extension. It's beautiful. Is this pitch low, like, a little bit low and away?
Right?
Is this pitch low and away, or is it just low?
I don't know. It looks low, and he pulled it.
Okay.
I mean, he's got a long bat and he's got long arms.
Yeah. Well, it seems like he has a lot of moving parts.
I think he has long moving parts. I don't think he has a lot of like in his stride. It's nothing like the Baez.
No.
Right? We looked at Baez. Who else did we look at? Simeon. Excuse me. Like, I think Simeon. I think it's actually a very compact swing for a guy that's that big. For a guy that's 6'5".
So we've looked at Freddie Freeman. We've looked at Simeon. We've looked at Baez. And we're now looking at Bryant. And Kris Bryant, to me, Freddie Freeman seems you may disagree with this, seems a little robotic in how he moves. Doesn't affect his swing, right? Or his success.
You just mean his athleticism.
Right. Yeah. Kris Bryant,
overall,
though, he's this is what's looking at this breakdown, hearing you do this. He is a combination to me of robotic in the beginning, and then when he gets to the point of contact, as smooth as silk. You don't see that in many times in hitters. You don't see, like, you see Bryce Harper when he's struggling, he's robotic. When he's not, he's as smooth as silk. Juan Soto, very smooth. Who else is kind of robotic a little bit? I'd argue Corey Seager's a little robotic at times.
Seager's robotic,
yeah, but you don't see a guy like Kris Bryant very often come along, have the success that he has, and be robotic in how he gets to the pitch. Won't get into all that, but when he gets to the pitch, to the point of contact, and then smooths it out, because his extension here and where he is a point of contact, generating that leverage, it's as good as anybody. It's good as you'll ever see.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Freddie Freeman looks robotic because of his follow through. He's got a really weird kind of cut off follow through, not as much as Chase Utley, but he kind of has an exaggerated follow through, which really means nothing. Like you said, like that, it really doesn't do anything. I would say Bryant and Tatis. Bryant could swing more like Tatis. I think they have very similar body types.
Right.
They're both very smooth athletically. I think Tatis's his mechanics are, I don't know, if I was putting him on 100% scale, Tatis would be like a 95, and I think Bryant would be like an 85. I think they fit in the same. I think if I was Kris Bryant, I would want to add a couple things that maybe Tatis does. But robotic wise with Bryant, it's because of his stride. He kind of crouches to start, and then he doesn't have a lot of rhythm. There's not a lot of rhythm. He just kind of picks up his foot and steps because he's big. He doesn't need extra weight shift. And most players have more rhythmic timing from stance to launch, and he's quick. He's quick from stance to launch, and maybe that's why he looks quick to me on certain pitches, because he's just kind of standing still, and then it's like boom, there the barrel comes through. Versus the guy that has a early slow load, which has nothing to do with how quick he is to the ball. He's just starting. He's not as jumpy, I guess. Maybe that's what makes Bryant look like he's so quick to me, is that he doesn't have that, Bryce Harper where he loads into the back leg and then has a leg kick and goes. He just kind of picks up the foot and goes. To each their own. That's why baseball's so great.
What would you add to Bryant's swing, taking and picking from Fernando Tatis Jr.?
The way he uses his left arm.
Okay.
Yeah, Tatis is, he drives penetrating balls to right center field. And then the reason he does that is because his front shoulder stays down longer during the swing, and he uses his left arm more early in the swing. That would be the main difference that I see between the two of them. And Tatis has a little flatter follow through. From contact to extension, he's flatter through the zone. His attack angle isn't as high, even though you're not trying to hit balls that far out in front. Because it's flatter, it tells me that at point of contact, he's going to be flatter too, because he's just kind of extending that same move. So those two things, probably the left shoulder and the left arm would be the main thing. I would love to give somebody like that slower rhythm. If Kris was, say 15 years old, like that's 100% something that I would work on with him. Let's start a little sooner. Let's slow down the footwork. But this is what he does, and he's very successful with it. So, that's not something I would try to change at this point in his career, would be rhythm. But I think you could definitely work, some upper body moves, some arm moves, in hopes that it makes it, say, 10% better by the end of the year. That would be great.
So slow feet, quick hands goes out the window with him, pretty much.
Then the quick hands go out the window?
Well,
slow
feet, quick hands, that
like,
theory.
If you slowed his rhythm down, I think he would still look
that doesn't
quick.
apply to him, is what I'm saying.
No.
He's got fast feet, fast hands.
He's just fast. He just moves fast. He's like Ricky Bobby. See, I
Um,
brought in. You see what I did there? I brought the movie back, another movie back in towards the end of the episode, just to keep it fresh.
snakes. I don't know no snakes. Don't worry, everybody. Listen, don't our listeners and viewers don't fret. I'll bring back the My Cousin Vinny quotes in the spring. Okay,
Okay,
promise.
good. We miss him.
Yeah. So you, instead of asking you the typical "Would you sign him?" question, play Jake GM. Ugh.
You know what's great about Jake playing GM?
What?
Endless pockets, no salary cap.
Right. He's as rich as Elon Musk. Can you imagine if Elon Musk bought a team?
He did, the Mets.
It's funny. All right. So
which I think Bryant would be a really good fit there, by the way.
oh, I don't.
And I think I don't
I have
think
another place
about going after him.
I have another place that he would be a good fit too, but
yeah,
I won't bring it up right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you that question. Would you sign him with your endless pockets of money and no salary cap or salary floor in the Epstein world of baseball, the Jim and Jake world of baseball?
Such a great world.
I know. It's a world where we have a couple of podcasts, one hitting, one fielding, bada bing, bada boom, a movie podcast where all we just do is quotes from old movies that we've seen.
That would probably be a better podcast.
Then you want to take that call?
Movie. I could go for days on movies.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you were in the minor league, college.
Oh yeah. Top Gun. You know how many times I've seen that? I hate Top Gun, by the way. I think I've said this on the show though.
You have said that.
Yeah. I hate that movie. God almighty. So Bryant here. This is from episode 28, Turning Back the Clock. We did this in November of 2020 when we celebrated the anniversary of the 5-year anniversary of the Cubs winning the World Series. And this is what you said about Kris Bryant. And I want to attach it to the question of, would you sign him? You said, I'm not trying to make you look bad, by the way. So just, bear with me here.
It just naturally happens.
You said, Bryant is special. He's quicker than most and his mechanics are very good. His lower body is excellent and I like his mechanics, but I think he can be much better than who he is. Is that a fair quote, right? Okay. You got all serious there for a second now. You're thinking, Jim, you motherfucker, why didn't you tell me his pride?
No, I'm actually surprised that I was so perfectly spot on with that.
Okay. So you still believe that?
Still believe that.
Okay. So then with that quote in mind, would you go ahead and sign Kris Bryant 7 or, you said 8 or 9 years. So using your premise, would you sign him 8 or 9 years with that quote in mind and what you currently think?
I'd give him 7.
Okay. You would sign
7 years. 7 years. I'd sign him 7 years. I don't know. It's probably going to come out to about $200 million.
Yeah.
Again, his versatility. And he's great. So that comment with, where I said he's really good, he does this well, blah, blah, blah. He could be better. Okay. So if he uses his left arm better, he's going to, if we take 30 good pitches that he fouled off last year, 30 good pitches that he fouled straight back because of that little drop that he had in there, which was much better last year. Okay. And he hits 20 of those balls and gets 20 more hits and 10 more doubles, he's better.
Yeah.
Right. What does that do? That's going to boost his average. It's going to boost his average a few points. Maybe there's more than that. Maybe there's more in there. Okay. So I definitely think if I'm a general manager and I'm a manager and I'm a hitting coach, I'm saying I like that guy the way he is right now. I know what he's going to give me. I know what he's going to give me on defense. I know what he's going to give me with his in the clubhouse. I know what he's going to give me with his effort level. You know what? I think we can make him a little bit better too. Okay. I think you're seeing that a lot with pitching coaches these days. They have pitching coaches and they're like, you know what? I think they said that to DeGrom. Look, there's a couple things I want to do here. The Angels coach, they have these ideas on how we can make you better. He's like, well, that's really cool. Thank you for doing that and taking the time to do that. Boom. I think I'll sign with you. So I think hitting coaches can do the same thing. If you have a proper plan and you have a proper person that that can understand it and say, look, I think you can get better right here, this area right here. I think if we do this, and this is how we attack it with our preparation, our daily prep, I think we can get 10% better this year. And I think 10% better leads to you, getting to maybe 30 or 40 more hittable pitches. And of those 30 or 40 hittable pitches, maybe you hit 5 out of the park and you hit 10 for doubles. And all of a sudden, wow, that's
right.
like, that's an impressive adjustment because you're getting plenty of pitches to hit. So that's why I would sign him. And that's why I kind of agree with my, whatever that was, 6-month-old self about Kris Bryant. It may have been earlier than that. I don't know when it was, and that may have been
over a year ago.
It was over a year ago. So that was before the article where he and his dad said, we're working on pitches up in the zone and trying to stay flat to him.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
All right. Well, good.
God, I was really worried I said something bad.
That clip,
I typically,
that quote with the full clip will be available, by the way, will be available next week on the YouTube page. It'll be uploaded and available for everybody to watch and listen to on the YouTube page.
Yeah, you want to watch that one. It's actually pretty good.
Set your calendars. Turning back the
clock. One, check the YouTube on the Kris Bryant one, because that was a good clip. It was like a good quality clip, good angle from the side, and you'll see a lot of things.
I'm talking about where that quote came from. The episode where that quote came from.
Oh yeah, you can look at that too.
Yeah. But you do want to watch the full episode with the side view of Kris Bryant and the swing breakdown, because as always, they're great. They're the best in the world, best on this planet.
The whole world.
The Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast YouTube page. Check it out. We've mentioned every week. So go visit and go watch. Coming up next week, we are discussing the swing of Carlos Correa, shortstop, free agent. That'll be good too, because he's got
that's pretty quality swing too.
Nearly perfect mechanics.
Yeah. He does.
I like staring at you like that.
He checks. Yeah, it's very awkward when you just stare at me. He checks a lot of boxes, like mechanically. And again, just because you have good mechanics doesn't mean you're a great hitter. And just because you're a great hitter and you produce results, that doesn't mean you have perfect mechanics either. So there's so many intangibles that go in there, but mechanics for a kid, for a 10 and 12 or 14-year-old player, boy or girl, that's where it starts. Okay. If you're a freak, there's freaks everywhere. Okay? I mean, there's the top 100 prospects in the draft next year. They're freaks. I mean, I see some of them, I'm like, what is that body? That's the body of a 17-year-old? Like,
who's the one kid, by the way, left-handed batter? You may have seen him. I tweeted it earlier in the week. His body comp is that of Marlon Anderson. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Second baseman, big kid. Anyway, go ahead.
It's like, those players are out there. Those players are on the planet.
Yeah.
And that's such a tiny percentage of players that play this game at age, 14 to 17, 14 to 18. So we as coaches have to give players the greatest foundation we can, whether it's fielding, footwork, whether it's, throwing mechanics, how to hold a ball, right? How to run bases or how to hit. If we can give them the best platform at an early age, then we know that there's no excuses down the road, right? If you didn't make it, is because you couldn't run, you couldn't see, you couldn't react to pitches, you got stressed out, whatever. You weren't athletic. I've taught, sometimes it's not great, but I've taught players that were so unathletic when they were like 11, 12 years old, and they worked so hard at the swing. Like, they took so many swings. They worked hard. They had the most beautiful swing. You can see it off a tee. And then you throw them a ball and you're like, good Lord. Like, that ball was 8 feet from you when you swung at it. Or, what is going on here? And then they kind of figure it out. It takes a month to figure out. I mean, I've had players that say, geez, Johnny's hitting the ball like he made his high school team because he can hit, but he can't throw the ball from third base all the way to first base.
Right.
Like, he's not an athlete. But I've made him a hitter because he's worked so hard at being on plane that he can run into pitches.
It's amazing what baseball's like. It's amazing how much of a skill sport it is, and how you could be somebody can be a great hitter and be bad at everything else. Like I don't know, i.e. John Kruk. Although Kruk was pretty good at first base.
Yeah, but Krucky's still like athletic. Like he can still react to pitches,
But that's not really, is that pure athleticism or is that skill?
I think there's still a lot of, I don't know. I haven't seen players like no, I mean, he's still athletic.
What do you got coming up at the lab?
Than me.
And what do you got? What's up with the Epstein Online Hitting Academy?
What's up? The Epstein Online Academy, the gift that keeps on giving. No, it's ramping up. So everybody's like on break now. So sending in videos and, I'm getting good information to players. It's always fun to see new players. Like I've had players I spot check twice a month, and I've done it for 10 years that they've been playing and we have a wonderful relationship. So, and it's fun to get new players and know and be able to share with them, hey, this is where you're going to be in 2 months. This is where you're going to be here. Just, follow the system, take your time. I'm teaching you exactly how, if you lived here in Colorado or you lived in Texas and I saw you a couple times a month, I would give you the same information and I would give you the same drills to do. So definitely the online academy is, if you're a remote player, it's inexpensive, like do it. As far as the lab, I have my college camp coming up right after the first of the year. So I have about 5 or 6 college baseball players and 5 or 6 college softball players. We're going to get amped and ready to go. They have to report back to school later that week. So we're going to do that. And then we have a couple mini camps for younger players with Kenny Jackson and Matt Yingle. We have a bunch of that stuff kind of going on over Christmas break too. So you could sign up for all that at thelabbcs.com.
Yes, and the phone number, it's on
or
the graphic.
Or you can hang with me at epsteinhitting.com if you just want to hear this voice over and over again in your dreams / nightmares.
Be sure to Carlos Correa next week. Email us jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at Jim Tara, at Epstein Hitting. I hope everybody hears Ep's voice in their dreams this week, and we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.